the normal idea of infinite, the layperson's idea of infinite, is that infinite just means extended indefinitely in all dimensions. Time goes on and on and on and on forever. Space goes on and on forever. Infinite, at least in the way that I use the word. I think this is not the mathematical use of the word. I use the word infinite to mean not finite, which means having no dimension at all, dimensionless. Now, it's not possible for a human mind to think of or visualize something with no dimensions, because everything we think of or imagine is filtered through the limitations of our own minds. And our own minds operate in 4 dimensions, 1 dimension of time, 3 dimensions of space. That's how we visualize. So everything we visualize is within the framework of the limitations of our own mind. So it is literally not possible for us to visualize or even think of something with no dimensions, because it's only possible to think of something that has some extension in time or space. So by infinite, I literally mean without any dimensions at all. And that it is, if we can speak of it this way, the activity of this infinite, in inverted commas, consciousness, which from the position of what you, Tom, refer to as an avatar, what I would say from the localized perspective of each of our finite minds, appears to us as the physical universe. What we are really perceiving, in my language, I would suggest, is the activity of infinite consciousness. I think, if I understand you correctly, Tom, you would say it was information. But what we are perceiving is the activity of infinite consciousness as it appears when perceived through the faculties, the limited faculties of each of our localized minds, or the avatar, as Tom calls it. And in other words, it is the limitations of our own mind that render the activity of consciousness as the universe that we perceive.
Yeah. There we go. Does that make a bit? How does that square up for you, Tom?
Well, I would again. I agree with everything that Rupert says here. Consciousness is dimensionless. It is beyond what we can comprehend. It is, far. Just to say it's beyond what we can comprehend is an understatement. Yes, indeed. All of that I agree with. But I still would not use, I would use the metaphor of infinite. It appears infinite. Yes. It would seem infinite to us, but floating in an inner tube in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, the ocean would appear infinite to us as well. We would see nothing but ocean for week after week after week floating in this inner tube, and it certainly would seem infinite.
Yeah. But this is the problem with semantics, isn't it? I mean, it's the limits of language, which is why God, for example, is such a loaded word.
Yeah. Rupert uses different metaphors than I use. I think is primarily the difference between us is our choice of metaphors. I come with the metaphors of science. He comes with the metaphors of philosophy.
Yeah.
And basically, the reason I would say that it is not, I don't use the word infinite, as though I would agree with all that description. I would say that's a metaphorical infinite and agree with it entirely. Yeah. But actually, infinity is something that can never be achieved. Infinity only exists as an abstract concept. Nothing real can be infinite. You see, nothing real goes forever. Forever is just infinity in time. So the fact that I can't see a boundary, can't experience a boundary, can't see an ending, it just seems to go on. Well, that's okay. So does evolution. Just go on. Evolution doesn't get to a point where it says, all right, nothing else to do. Evolution just is open-ended. It just is, and it just goes. So I say that consciousness is a real thing. Matter of fact, I say it is the only real thing. And because it's a real thing, it can't be infinite. And it is not supernatural. It's a natural thing. So, of course, a scientist would want to see whatever it is he's working on as a real thing, a natural thing. Science doesn't start with supernatural things that are beyond, existence. So it exists, it's real, therefore it's finite. If finite, it has boundaries, but those are boundaries beyond what we can ever see, understand, or experience. They're outside. And what is beyond that boundary? Well, it's just unknown.
Yeah.
We just don't know. And not only that we don't know, but we can't know because we are consciousness. We are part of that system. So we can't see outside the system because we are the system. We're inside the system. So nevertheless, consciousness is the only thing that is real. It's fundamental. Everything else is virtual, which means a creation of consciousness.
Illusory, in other words. Yeah.
Yeah, well, from Buddha's viewpoint, it's all an illusion.
Yeah.
Yes, I say it's all, virtual.
Yeah.
It's information. So it's understanding. So that's kind of a difference. So from a physicist's viewpoint, it's real and it's finite. But from all of our interaction with it, it appears to us and seems to us to be forever and infinite. That's our sense of it, just like it would be our sense of it floating in the middle of the ocean. But it doesn't mean that it is. Now, what does the difference does that boundary make? It makes no difference whatsoever. It's not important. So in my model of consciousness, the fact that it has a boundary doesn't actually lead to anything important. Saying that it's infinite doesn't actually lead to anything important because both of those are language. It's just it's metaphor. It's the way we express our ideas. Yeah. So I think that's, it's a difference between philosophy and science in a way that you see the world and express it, but it doesn't really affect the conclusions that you come to, because all of Rupert's conclusions are my conclusions as well.
Yeah.
And arguing over whether it's really infinite or not, to me, seems like a silly, non-functional argument, because that doesn't matter. That's a detail of description.
Yeah.
And it's not really fundamental to becoming love.